This is the Conrad Alert. Civil defense information will be broadcast at 6:40.
West of the Rockies, you're on the air. Hello.
Y2K, how can we prepare?
Stop a few of their machines and radios, throw them into darkness for a few hours.
We are fighting for our lives. My family must survive.
For 5 years, 1,000 gallons of gas, air filtration, water filtration.
Coming at you from the frozen tundra that is East Central Alberta, Canada, streaming live on YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Rumble, and Odyssey. Welcome back to the workshop where we create community, find freedom, promote preparedness, and share success. I am Toolman Tim. Today is June the 13th, 2024, and this is episode 456 of Workshop Radio. How are all my fellow human beings out there this evening, this afternoon, maybe, depending on what time zone you are in? It has been beautiful here, definitely escaping the high heat that I would be experiencing in Tennessee at the moment, but still miss down south just a tad. But I am keeping myself busier than a one-legged man at an ass-kicking contest. Let's go with that. Yeah, it's been an absolute incredible couple of weeks here trying to get everything done. So anyway, let's open up. Since this is This Week in Prepping, we are going to open with a rule to live by. I put it in the old randomizer this evening, and I ended up getting rule number 34. And this is one that I actually sent to a friend today. So it was, I guess, good timing for that matter. But this is one that my dad, a lot of my rules that I live by, and I should really rename this from rules to live by to rules that allow my life to go better when I live by them. Let's put it that way. So here we are. Rule number 34, a change is as good as a rest. Now, this might be the shortest rule to live by that I have in my list, but what does that mean? Well, a lot of times, almost in every instance, when an individual is suffering from burnout, it isn't because they're doing too much. It isn't because their body is too tired. Now, I'm not saying that isn't the case, but what I'm saying is, and what my dad has told me a lot over the years, is a lot of times what you need is a change. Might be, a new hobby, might be some exercise, might be a new job. And that has been something that I have lived by for many, many years. If you get to a point where you just feel exhausted all the time, mentally, emotionally, just absolutely tore down, you can sleep all you want. Sometimes it'll help, but a lot of times it won't. And a lot of times that's your body's subconscious way of saying, hey, it's time for a change, dude. You're messed up. You're not happy where you are. You got to change something in your life. And so that is yet another rule to live by the great David Cook. I love that dude to death. Brought me up in the right way. And there are a lot of Davidisms that I like to share with you guys. But this one has been one that has served me incredibly well over these years. So anyway, let's take a look at who is in the audience this evening. We got some fellow delinquents in here. We got Digger. He was the first one in that I saw this evening. Pippin, Ryan Pippin, good to see you. He's in a much warmer spot than I am. And what else? Angie Marie, great to see you. Byron Roberts says, I hate to say my body is telling me that now. Change is as good as a rest. Yes, brother, it is. It's one of those things. And we are also on the vertical feed again. It is something that YouTube is pushing immensely. It's great to see David Hosfeld from Michigan over on the vertical feed. Hardway, Alaska, great to see you as well. So this evening, I got a ton to cover. If we don't make it all through, then I'll bring it back for another episode at some point next week. But I got a ton I want to show you guys. So with that, we can move right on into...
If anyone dies while you are kept in your fallout room, move the body to another room in the house.
The time has come for Stranger Than Fiction. All right, guys. So I've got 4 stories tonight to share with you, plus one more that I added last minute. I was sitting outside watching my girls play volleyball. surfing Google News, and I come up with something that I hadn't heard yet. So I threw it in to its own segment this week. So shut up, Tim, and let's move right along. Here we are. All right. So this was a quick one, not a very long story. And here, let's go. Purpose of century-old secret tunnels beneath this Florida city is still a mystery. So, Ryan, this is from your neck of the woods, and this is a story I hadn't heard before. So here we are. It's been years since a network of secret tunnels were discovered beneath Tampa, but their purpose remains a mystery. The subterranean passageways below Ybor City, Y-B-O-R, somebody can tell me how to pronounce that, may have been used to smuggle immigrants, alcohol, or even money for the mafia, experts theorize. Man, I always love a good tunnel story. Definitely interesting. So right here, you can see a couple of pictures. They look like they might have been rudimentary sewerways at one time or another, but this person who has explored them before said, you can stand up and maybe bend over a little bit, depending on how tall you are, but you could certainly travel through them. One of the last known access points to the tunnel burnt down in 2001, but the city was dumbfounded to uncover another in 2018 during a construction project near an old bottling factory. Taking advantage of the entryway, researchers dove into the network to try to map the extensive system, even finding a spring inside. So, was this a speakeasy? Was this something used to transport, the devil's juice during Prohibition? Were people kind of stashed away down there trying to get in, illegal immigrants, I don't know. I'm not sure what it was. I love to theorize. Who knows what way it is or where it came from. But yeah, I love it. There's a few artifacts they found down in there, mainly old, they said a treasure trove of bottles, possibly proof the tunnels were used to smuggle alcohol. Sure, you could say that, but alcohol could mean a lot of things. That could mean the mafia were hanging out down there. That could mean, again, that they were smuggling folks in. Or, as B-Man Jay said over on the Vertical Stream, the Underground Railroad. Who knows? There's probably a simple solution or answer to this. I'm not sure how something this large exists under a city that the city has no record of. They're like, I don't know. To me, I would be tickled pink to research this. This would be something that I would be opening up to, the tourist industry. Not that, Florida needs any more tourists, but man, this would be a really interesting place of exploration. I'd love to go in there. It reminds me of the old civil defense shelter that I found in Edmonton that is completely locked away and is just a footnote of history. Like, how does this shit just get forgotten? And why can't we explore it, celebrate it? I don't know. Make an economy out of it. It doesn't matter. Anyway, so this was cool. I thought this was a lot of fun. B-Man J over on the Vertical says there are a lot of unmapped New York City tunnels. Absolutely. Bradley Garrett, he is the guy that wrote the book Bunker. He actually spent, I believe it was a couple of years in England, going way down underground into a lot of the subway or the forgotten tunnels below the subway. And you can imagine what that would be like. I'd love to do some of that exploration, urban exploration. So anyway, I don't know why they haven't made a bigger deal out of this, but I thought you guys would enjoy that one. Next, this is a fun one. And you'll be like, are you seriously talking about Costco again, Tim? Well, yeah, I am. I'm going to say that quite often Costco is a prepper's paradise, not a gangster's paradise, but a prepper's paradise. And there is some serious shit you can pick up there. Now, this is one that I did not see coming. And if you guys happen to see the somewhat viral video, maybe a year, maybe 6 months ago, I can't remember, of a police officer in Quebec who said, guys, there's a lot of car thefts going on in Quebec, in Canada in general. And you know what you should do to keep yourself safe? You should leave your keys by the back door to make it exceedingly easy for the ne'er-do-wells to walk into your home, steal your keys, and go away with your hard-earned vehicle. That's what they said. Well, some people aren't happy with that kind of thing, and Costco started selling security bollards. And if you don't know what those are, that's okay. The first time I'd seen the automatic style was back in 2016, 17, when I visited Washington, D.C., and they have those people go into the underground parking. And as soon as they go under, those what are basically security posts come up out of the ground. Well, Costco is now selling those. Check this out. Costco Canada, and this is from the National Post, Costco Canada selling retractable driveway bollards to protect cars from thieves. The TikTok account Costco Finds Canada recently shared a video. These are manually retractable. These aren't the automatic type, but I bet you could put an engine or a motor or something on it. The TikTok account shows them for sale for 569 Canadians. That's about $12 American. So here we are. Let's slide on down. Last June, a report from whatever this letter agency said Toronto saw a 300% increase in vehicle thefts from 2015 to 2022, with the problem growing progressively worse each year. In 2022, more than 9,600 vehicles were stolen in Toronto alone. Now, Toronto's a big city, but that is a shit ton of vehicles, a metric shit ton, in fact. While police suggest measures like investing in an anti-theft device, ignition or fuel kill switches, steering wheel, gear shift, and hood locks, or steering column collars and electric alarms, others have turned to bollards. Wow, I think these are kind of cool. So I would just love to have those in general, just to have. They would be a deterrent. I live right in town. Our back driveway exits onto an alleyway, a shared alleyway. And I've thought about putting an automatic gate back there. I want something up that says, hey, I don't want you here. Simple as that. But I'm not sure if I could. Well, anyway, allowed versus able, right, guys? And I've looked at it a few times to try to figure it out. Hardway Alaska says just buy a stick shift. Well, that is very true now, isn't it? Now, kind of funny, but I was just watching a video this afternoon that was all about something that Kia did back 7 or 8 years ago. I can't remember exactly. They cut some corners. They didn't include the automatic shut-off system that works with electronic keys. And they also made it asininely easy to pop the steering column off and use pliers or something as simple as a USB wire to turn the car on. So apparently it was something like a 2,500% increase in the city of Milwaukee. And then there was a TikTok challenge showing that you could their Kia Souls one, B-Man J says, there was a 90-second TikTok video that showed how easy it was to hop into a Kia, smash it open, and get going. Like, it's insane. So anyway, that definitely attributed a bit of the rise in thefts, but it has become unbelievable in Canada. So Costco, like I said, and what other uses could you use for these? I mean, I would love to have, you could put a sensor on them, like at the old video stores, you'd walk through the door and it'd go bing bong, that kind of thing. Well, you could have that kind of sensor that would rise it up. I don't know. There's tons of things you could do. I'm interested in seeing what the installation process is. There was another part of it right here I didn't go into, but it says there's a company called Bollard Boys in GTA, that's Greater Toronto area, and they've made quite a killing doing this lately. But they said the lovely thing about these bollards is when they're down, you don't know they're there. It's inconspicuous during the day when they're dropped, but when I come home at night and I'm putting the car to bed, I pull them up. There's no way for anybody to be able to futz around and try and get the car out between the bollards because there's no way it would fit. So I don't know. What are your guys' thoughts on those things? I mean, again, it seems like we're playing whack-a-mole, and in this instance, it's almost a literal game of whack-a-mole. These bollards come up. How long is it going to take until the thieves figure out that all it takes is a rare earth magnet? I don't really know this. I'm completely throwing it out of my ass here. But say you take a great big rare earth magnet, it releases whatever the catch is and drops it down into place. I don't know. But it won't take very long. I like it. I think that most criminals take the path of least resistance. And at this moment, solid steel bollards, even if they're manual, are definitely not the path of least resistance. So I don't know if anybody's ever installed them or had any experience with them. I'd love to hear about them for sure. All right, let's see what we got here from the community. Pippin says, I've considered a speed radar sensitive speed bump system for side roads. I like it. And again, Hardway says, just by a stick shift. And Byron Roberts says, we had bollards like that in town, and all it took was a church key. I can see that. And what do you do then, right? I mean, in 5 years, in 2 years at this point, you'll be able to buy them on eBay, and a year after that on Amazon. So, it is what it is. We, up in Lloydminster, where we have the big daycares, we had to basically the city forces you to install these firefighter boxes outside. So what happens is inside that box is the key to the alarm system and a key to the door. And so the other day when I set off the fire alarm, yeah, I did, because of drywall dust, the firemen showed up. There's supposedly only 2 keys in the entire city, and they've been there for quite some time. So that's great. Hopefully nobody ever loses the key. Hopefully somebody's always around. But again, it's one of those situations. They're great until somebody figures them out, and then they aren't so great. All right, back over. B-Man J says, vibration sensors are cheap and easy to use. And B-Man J says, full insurance, and you get yourself a new car. All kidding aside, insurance is always a good prep. We're here to talk about prepping first and foremost. And I'm a huge fan of having all the insurance you can have, because there's only so many things you can do to prepare. And insurance helps you cover your ass when the things happen that you aren't prepared for. So, and Rachel Brown says, church key that I know of is a bottle opener. I like it. Fair enough. All right, on to the next story. This is a fun one. This is from dailymail.com and exclusive. This is going to be a fun one. I'm almost thinking about, I've got some ideas for some new segments, because what I kind of want to do with this show is flip certain shows, certain segments in, and then certain segments out, just as the news dictates it. So anyway, if you guys can come up with a name for something supernatural-ish, kind of like, I don't know, we'll see. Anyway, I've got some ideas, but we'll see. So this one is the haunting connection between UFOs and America's nuclear weapons is laid bare in fascinating new study, which concludes they're trying to stop us from annihilating ourselves. Kind of a fun story. And I hope you guys enjoy this. And let me know if you like this kind of stuff, if you'd like a short little segment on it each week, because this one kind of caught my attention, because it is a bit about the nuclear apocalypse. So let's take a look. Since the U.S. detonated its first atomic bomb in 1945, dozens of accounts of UFOs have been logged by military witnesses. But the connection between UFOs and nuclear sites has persisted in India, Russia, and elsewhere around the globe, leading many to wonder, are aliens stopping us from exterminating ourselves? UFO reports over America's nuclear arsenal appeared to shift from sites where the bombs were made to missile silos and U.S. air bases as the Cold War arms race grew. Now, this is kind of interesting. It's a long article. I picked just some of the real key points out of it, but you'll see here, UFO sightings moved from nuclear weapons manufacturing to nuclear missile silos. Now, does it mean that that's the only place that they saw unidentified flying objects? No, it doesn't. But there seems to be a bit of a pattern. So here we go. Their qualified but haunting conclusion. This is what came out of this multi-year study. Data from this 3-decade-long period lends credence to the idea that extraterrestrials or some other intelligence has methodically surveilled America's rise to nuclear power. Interesting. So here's a picture here from 1945 to 1970. I'm not sure. UAP, Unidentified Aerial Phenomenon Activity Pattern Study. From 48 to 52, as America's production of atomic weapons first ramped up, waves of UFO sightings began cropping up over Washington State's nuclear production complex, as well as Los Alamos and other sites for the Manhattan Project. So if you see this right here, this is a little bar graph, and if you're on the audio only, it's okay. UFOs over U.S. military nuclear sites and elsewhere moved from day to night. Interesting trend. Now, I don't know. There could be, what do they say? Causation doesn't necessarily equal correlation, or vice versa. But so in the 40s, almost all UFO sightings were during the day. And as time went on, more and more of them came at night. So I don't know, would that be something? I don't know. Would people be spending more time outdoors at night? Not really sure. Don't even know why. But these patterns in the historical UFO record, according to the researchers, were accompanied by another clear trend. The UFOs appeared more and more over armed and ready nuclear weapon sites. The apparent craft also started to appear more at night. From 52 onward, cases of UFOs probing near active U.S. nuclear weapons took precedence, with a wave of sightings around America's new ICBMs. Several of the UFO sightings, including incidents at Maelstrom Air Force Base in Montana, that they say UFOs deactivated ICBMs. I thought that was interesting. Oh, I think we might have a winner here, guys, but we'll get to that in a minute. So, in other words, where do we go from here? Just the 45 to 75 studies, Hancock believes that reasonable conclusions or theories can be inferred about these airborne mysteries, that they appear to show intentional study of America's most sensitive weaponry. And his research partner ventured even a little further. They may have a better understanding of the future, our future, than we do. So I don't know. I have been interested in UFOs since I was a kid. Who knows? I don't know how much truth there is to them, but they sure as hell I always find them kind of interesting. And they seem to go part and parcel with some folks on the prepper sphere. So if you like it, maybe we'll talk about a few more. This one just loosely tied into, nuclear preparations and stuff. But the whole idea, the Daily Mail sometimes plays fast and loose with some of their reporting. But I think the idea behind this was, the push was that the aliens or whomever was trying to protect us from ourselves. So yeah, anyway, kind of interesting. I enjoyed it. Now let's take a look at what the names that people came up with in the comments here. Rachel came up with Saviors from Above. Byron Roberts come up with Poltergeist Prepping and Paranormal Prepping. And B-Man J come up with The Haunted Prepper and Prepper Ghost. I got to tell you, I really like Paranormal Prepper. Paranormal Prepping. Now, here's the thing. I'm not going to be able to say that 10 times fast, but I think that one was really, really good. So give me just 1 second here, guys. My dog wants in and they're being an idiot. So hang on. Actually, there was 2 dogs, Angus and Beatrice, and they've never done this to me before. So, hey guys, they wanted to come in and say hello. So now they get to lay down with me until they decide they want to go out. So it's a live show. Anything can happen. It's definitely not Memorex, is it? And if you're younger than 38, you probably don't know what the hell I'm talking about. So next story, here we go. This was one that I actually found out about when I was down at the coin shop in Montana last weekend, and it was a good time. It went down. I always like going in, picking their brains and chatting, and we got talking about the drop in the price of oil. And one thing that they thought maybe had a bit of cause in that, I guess, would be this story right here. This comes from indiatoday.in. Saudi Arabia ends 80-year petrodollar deal with the U.S. for multi-currency sales. So I didn't even hear about this. I don't know if anybody else did. Now, again, this is the type of thing to just be aware of, not to be nervous about. But this has been, I didn't dig into it a whole lot, but they say it was an 80-year deal that was originally signed in 1974. So I'm guessing, since that would be 50 years ago, that it must have to be renewed every term or so, kind of like a mortgage. But it sounds like they decided that they didn't want to renew it. So at this point, I mean, we keep talking about currency collapse and things, and I don't necessarily think this is going to cause it, but it certainly isn't going to help things. It's definitely going to kind of facilitate the US dollar moving away from being the world's reserve currency, I think. So let's check it out here, guys. And if anybody's heard about it, yeah, share with me, but I hadn't until this weekend. So by choosing not to extend the contract, Saudi Arabia can now sell oil and other goods using different currencies. There's some interesting things here. The Chinese RMB, euros, yen, and yuan, instead of only US dollars. But check this part out right here. There's also talk of exploring digital currencies like Bitcoin for transactions. This decision marks a significant move away from the petrodollar system established in 1972, when the U.S. stopped linking its currency directly to gold. So where does this go? Does this back Bitcoin into a corner and kind of turn it into a world reserve currency? I don't know. Maybe not. But I can certainly tell you that it'll be interesting to see how the oil market ends up reacting to this sort of thing. But either way, I think the option of being able to take multiple currencies is never a bad thing. Whatever you want to say about Saudi Arabia, I think this could be an interesting move on their part. And let's see, it says it's expected to accelerate the global trend of using currencies other than the US dollar in international trade. We all know that kind of thing started with Russia and South Africa and a few other spots. But it says, additionally, Saudi Arabia has joined Project M Bridge. And that's M as in Mama Bridge, a collaborative effort exploring a digital currency platform shared among central banks and commercial banks. So again, another kind of central digital currency that is being developed maybe outside of the US. So yeah, this move by Saudi Arabia marks the beginning of a major shift in global economic dynamics, though its full implications in international trade and finance remain to be seen. Yeah, we know that. So in other words, it could be a big deal. It's probably not going to be a big deal overnight, just something to be cognizant of. The fact that, the petrodollar is no more, I guess. So we'll see. I would love to see us go back to a gold-backed currency of some sort. Not that ties into this necessarily, but just a thought. So, all right. So we are going to move on. This is a new segment. And again, I need a name for it. For right now, we're going to call it This Day in Prepping. And maybe that's what it's going to be. But I started, weekly, I'll see this week in history kind of stories. And occasionally there'll be a story that kind of tickles on the aspects of prepping. And if you go to survivalblog.com, that's the one run by James Wesley Rawls, just about every day they do a This Day in History segment. And so quite often I'll get something on there that really says, oh yeah, we should talk about that. But to this one, it was something I hadn't heard of before. So in June 12th, 1859, the Comstock silver lode, and that's LODE, in Nevada was discovered. Now, it would also be LOAD, the mother lode of silver. This was the first major silver discovery in the U.S. Hadn't heard of it, and it turned out to be quite a large gold depository as well. But real quick, the Comstock lode is one of the most important mining discoveries in American history. It was the first major silver discovery in the United States. It's estimated that out of all the ore that was taken during this time, 57% was silver and the rest was gold. This was something that spurred on the gold rush. It was something that brought a lot of economic growth in that area. But it, at the time, of course, was the first and for a long time, the largest silver repository in the United States. So yeah, anyway, if you hadn't heard of that, all the links tonight are in the show notes. I've been getting way better. I've got a, how do you want to put it? I've got a real system for putting together the show notes for This Week in Prepping now. And so you can count on there being links to absolutely everything in the show note, or at least almost everything. If I miss anything, somebody, give me a slap, because I'm pretty sure I got everything. So back to the community real quick. And Byron Roberts, I think you just topped it. The Prepper Files. I love that. That's actually a really good, that would work for, man, I like that for both. I like that for the paranormal one, and I kind of like it for This Day in History. We can dig back into the Prepper Files. Well, we're going to write that down too, so we don't forget it. But yes, I like that name quite a bit. And I wanted to mention, anybody out there who is always looking for a way to support the workshop, if you happen to notice, I'm wearing this month's patch. Not the one that's coming out to you guys shortly, but the one that everybody just got. I wanted to wait until everybody had got there so that I didn't spoil the surprise. But this month's was the Anarchist Workshop, and it is a delinquent workshop take on the old Anarchist Cookbook. If you guys read that in high school, or downloaded on the early internet like I did, I have a soft spot for it in my heart. And I got a lot of really good compliments from folks who got the patch this month. So anyway, for those who are new around here, it's $10 a month or $100 a year. Go to patchofthemonth.co and you can sign up. So anyway, you get a cool patch just like that every month, and sometimes some extra goodies. All right, so sliding right on into...
Now you stay on the back roads, and you keep your gun handy. Our country is still full of thieving, murdering patriots.
Get ready for I Read It on the Internet. So there we are, guys. This is I Read It on the Internet. And this is where I break down the top story or the top forum post on our preppers. And a lot of times I've said they come from a less extreme view of prepping. I would say that quite often they're very practical in there, and there's nothing wrong with that. So you get a different look at prepping, and you get a different look maybe from a different people group as well, or a different age category. Let's put it that way, because it's pretty easy to fall into the, hey, I'm, late Gen X, early millennial kind of echo chamber. And it's nice to hear from maybe a younger side of things. But anyway, this is a good one. This comes from Morning Librarian 18. What a name. Who is someone you shouldn't have in a group if the shit hits the metaphorical fan? If SHTF, what types of people are good to keep out of your group in order to ensure the safety of yourself and ones around you? So anybody out there want to throw in something? But who are the folks that you should not have in a prepper group? Because a prepper group, or a loosely affiliated group of prepper friends would be who you're going to work together even when something really bad ends up happening. So what do we have? We got a few here. Appropriate ad says, the negative narcissistic person who has no skills that can be used, but has a very vocal opinion on why you are wrong. Anybody out there know somebody like that? Has no skills, no discernible talent to help the people group, the family group, whatever it happens to be. But holy shit, don't they love to tell you why you're wrong? Yep, I'll agree with that one. How about this one from 5 cents a day? Funny enough, it's my father-in-law. At least my mother-in-law can use power tools and process a squirrel. I had to laugh at that one because, as you can imagine, this quickly turns into a shit on my mother-in-law fest. And you guys know I do that enough that I don't need to. So next, damn it. I just realized that if anything like this actually happened, I'm going to die saving or supporting my mother-in-law, and she'll make every minute of it suck until that happens. And BJB says, people who never say, I don't know. I included that one because I think a teachable spirit's pretty important. I want to say that, the lone wolf who thinks they know absolutely everything, you're not going to last very long. But I really like that. I just thought, you know what? In other words, have a teachable spirit in your prepper group or family. And Steel Bandicoot says, not admitting you don't know something gets people killed. And finally, people that don't contribute, lying about everything, don't know any skills, don't want to learn, and always, seems like these folks always want to be the leader of the group, even though they don't have any skills that make them a good leader. So in other words, folks that want power, politicians, that's it. Yes, that was low-hanging fruit there, Tim. You didn't have to grab that. But yes, folks who love power, but have no discernible skills and offer no benefit to the greater society. Hey, so yeah, I like that. Just a short and sweet version of I read it on the internet. Here we go. Ryan Pippin says you need power tools to process squirrels. I mean, it makes it quicker, a lot faster, but yeah, no, I don't think so. I'm going to guess there should have been a comma in there, but Digger says another good name would be Prepper Rations. I like that one quite a bit too. All right. And so let's follow on to.
He's dead. They're all dead. Everyone. You and I are in a dead world. And I'm glad it's dead. Cheap, honky-tonk of a world.
Coming up next is Workshop Wasteland. This is where we take a look at post-apocalyptic, dystopian fiction, music, movies, books, video games. It doesn't matter. We talk about it. And it's going to be a short and sweet. We got like 4 quick articles. It was a busy news week, but not anything in depth. I had 0 time. Once the weather gets nice like this, I don't have a whole lot of time to watch any, post-apocalyptic pop culture or mass media of any sort. But, when the weather gets a little colder, I try to get a little more in. But that doesn't mean there wasn't some interesting news this week. So number one, if anybody likes Starship Troopers, and I definitely have a soft spot for Starship Troopers. Just the same director did this one and RoboCop and Arnold Schwarzenegger's movie where he goes to Mars, Total Recall. All three great, all kind of dystopian, satirical, dark humor-filled sci-fi epics. So this one says, do your part and join the fight in the new Starship Troopers Extermination trailer. This comes from Collider.com. And if you're into video games, this October, everyone will be called to do their part in service of the United Citizen Federation with the release of Starship Troopers Extermination. Now, I got to tell you, I remember the first time I watched Starship Troopers, and it was on VHS at my friend Lynn's house. We used to go down there, the whole lot of us. We'd hang out on her couch in the living room, and we would watch on an old floor model TV. And I didn't quite get the movie the first time I saw it, but the fact that that film from nearly 30 years ago is getting turned into a video game, because video games are big bucks nowadays, kind of blows me out of the water. It shows some of the staying power of really good satire. During the IGN Live event, a new trailer was unveiled announcing the first-person shooter video game developed by Offworld Industries. The sci-fi satire franchise's universe will launch out of early access on October 11th. It's going to be on PC, PS5, and Xbox. I thought that was pretty cool. And Byron Roberts says, I liked it better the more I watched it. I as well, definitely. It was something, again, when you watch it a little bit older, you get the satirical bent to it. And you know what's really funny is Paul Verhoeven. He's the dude who directed this and Total Recall and RoboCop. Also, anybody else want to guess what his fourth movie he was most famously known for? Yep, it was Showgirls. So how do you end how do you go with three incredible movies in a row and then end up with the fourth one being Showgirls? I don't know. I mean, I get kind of where the satire comes in, but anyway, that's enough of here. You didn't think you came in to hear me talk about Showgirls, did you guys? Ryan Pippin says, would you like to know more? And if you haven't seen the movie, you won't get it, but if you have, you will. So there you go. There's the first quick story. Next, I'm not huge into anime. My daughter is, but you know what I do like is most anything that deals with the Terminator franchise. Well, okay. How about anything made in 1991 and before? But anyway, Netflix Terminator Zero series has revealed who is voicing the new Terminator, and it's a phenomenal choice. One of my favorite actors in Hollywood, that part's not in the story, but Timothy Olyphant, what a great name, has been recognized for years as an exceptional talent, and he is now going to be doing the voice of the main Terminator in the Terminator anime series. Let's see, what do we got here? It's going to be on Netflix. It didn't say when yet, but it's Netflix hosted a new special called Next on Netflix Animation. And so, yeah, it's going to have Sam Worthington, Jason Clarke, Gabrielle Luna, a whole bunch of interesting voices. But Timothy Olyphant is going to be playing the main character in the series. So should be good. I'm looking forward to it. I may even sit down and watch a bit of it with Alice to see how it turns out. And finally, because I'm obsessed with. No, I really enjoyed the first Last of Us series. And yeah, it's been a year. Do I miss it? Yeah, I'm probably due to go back and watch it again. But they made an announcement, Last of Us Season 2. And this is from Deadline.com. Here it is. It's a case of good news, bad news. And I'm going to summarize it. But basically, Season 2 is going to be 7 episodes. So 3 episodes shorter, I believe, than Episode 1. But they announced that there's definitely going to be a Season 3 and probably a Season 4. They looked at the storyline of the second installment in the video game series and decided that it'd be more fully fleshed out over a 2 or 3 season arc. So if you're looking forward to it, great. If you think, there they go, Hollywood just milking something for every penny, probably also true. So we'll see. But yeah, so there we are. And we busted through that one quick. Next, we have...
Nothing like eating under an open sky, even if it is radioactive.
Dropping the dime on precious metals. Yeah, so somehow I managed to get all my notes out of jumble. I don't know. So what I do for anybody who would like to, take a peek behind the curtain, and you're like, Tim, put that away. We're not looking behind the curtain. But so I've got 3 monitors set up here. I've got the vertical stream to my left. I've got my notes in front of me. Then you guys are directly to my right. And then on the far right is where I have all of my articles. And I take very good care before putting the show together of making sure the articles line up with my notes, except I totally screwed the pooch on this one. Don't know what happened, but it's kind of funny. Anyway, here we go. I thought this was an interesting thought experiment. You guys know where I stand on precious metals. Don't throw all your money into it. Don't cash out your RSPs and put it all in gold and silver. And if you do it, your wife better not come after me and try to shoot me, because it was not my advice. But here it is. If you'd invested $1,000 in gold 10 years ago, how much money would you have today? This is from Yahoo Finance. So 10 years ago, the price of gold sat at $1,246 an ounce. Today, it's worth damn near double, $2,350 and $65. That marks an 88.66% increase in value, or an annual average return of almost 9%, not calculated for compounding. If you'd invested $1,000 in gold a decade ago, it would be worth $1,886.56 today. So nearly $1,900. That's not a bad return, but does it compare to, say, an investment in stocks? So this is a cool thought experiment. I want to elaborate a little bit on it because we want to make sure we're doing an apples to apples comparison. So if you'd taken that same $1,000 and invested it strictly in the stock market, the S&P 500, the top 500 performing stocks, Wall Street, that rose 174% over the last 10 years for an average annual return of 17.41%. That is double what you would have made on gold. Now, a caveat, and that is why anybody who tells you to invest all your money in precious metals probably sells precious metals. Somebody much smarter than me for many years has said 5 to 10% of gold in your wealth. Now, lots of smart people have said that. And the main reason that is the idea behind gold and silver is it's a hedge against inflation. We'll talk about that a little bit more. I guess what I should say is precious metals shouldn't be viewed as a way to make money, but it's a way for your money not to lose its value. And it's a really good way to diversify. If you're looking at making the most money in the shortest amount of time, then the stocks are definitely way ahead of silver and gold. Now, you probably should be in both, but I'm not going to give you that advice, but that's the type of thing that Becky and I do. But again, I love silver and gold. I like it because it helps insulate you against economic crashes, against currency collapses, and if the, SH was ever to TF, if the shit was ever to hit the fan, well, it would be something that would probably be worth quite a bit down the road. I don't think it's going to be worth much during a collapse, but post-collapse, I think it would be worth quite a bit. All right. Why investors look to gold? What does Yahoo Finance have to say? Many investors consider gold the ultimate safe haven investment. When the world goes to hell in a handbasket, investors turn to gold. Why? Precisely because it's been used as a store of value for millennia. Investors like gold as a hedge against geopolitical uncertainty. If global markets and supply chains look like they might get disrupted, investors flock to gold. In 2020, anybody remember what happened in 2020? I know there was something, but this old brain can't bring it up right now. In 2020, for example, gold jumped 24.5%. Likewise, investors retreat to gold when fiat currencies, and that's a fancy way for government printed dollars, lose value fast to inflation. Amidst all the inflation anxiety in 2023, gold rose 13%. Finally, gold offers a non-correlated hedge against stock market crashes. Again, a hedge against inflation, a hedge against economic downturns, the works. In other words, gold offers the big D. Did you just say that, Tim? Yeah, I did. The big D, diversification. A collapse in financial markets doesn't cause a collapse in gold prices. Quite the opposite. Many investors believe gold will rise in price if a bear market hits. So again, gold is another form of insurance. Gold is a great form of diversification. Gold is a way to hedge against inflation, collapse, currency devaluation, all of the above. So here it is. The reason you tuned in for this article. So is gold a good investment? Well, that depends. It's a defensive investment. Don't expect it to generate the same returns as stocks or real estate or pay any cash flow. Again, you're not going to pull money out of what you buy with gold and silver. But when the zombie apocalypse comes, gold will have value even if no other investments do. So again, there's the sum up. Should you have all your money? No. And that is the perfect reason. That shows the good and the bad, or the good and the intermediate with precious metals. That's what it comes down to. Have some, but don't put all your eggs in one basket, because you're not going to get rich off of buying precious metals. And for a guy who loves precious metals, just being honest, it's great to have a small portion of your money in that, but don't go balls to the wall and spend everything you got, because Y2K2 is coming, or whatever it happens to be. So, all right, we got 2 articles in Dropping the Dime this week. And the next one is, I don't know if you guys heard about this, but this came from businessinsider.com. And this was one of the big reasons that gold dropped this week. Gold is getting so expensive that even China's central bank stopped buying. So I was talking to the guys at the coin shop, and one dude there told me that he was pretty sure that China's currency is gold backed. Now, I really should have looked that up before I went live this evening, but I did not. However, the fact that they buy metric tons, literally metric tons of gold, should tell you something. China needs or wants gold. Here it is. China's central bank gold buying streak has been a major driver of prices that hit record highs recently. However, it looks like gold has gotten so expensive that even the People's Bank of China has taken a break. On Friday, official data showed China's gold holdings were unchanged in May from the prior month, which means the central bank didn't buy any gold. The pause has left gold vulnerable on more downside pressure. Now, here it is. The benchmark price, so that's kind of there's like this mental hurdle when something goes above a price. You would think people would want to sell it, but a lot of times people try to buy it. But, the real investors get skittish when it gets over a certain price. And in this time, the benchmark is around $2,300 per ounce, about 6% lower than its record high of $2,450 per ounce on May 20th. Prices of gold, a traditional safe haven asset, have been on a tear this year, about 11% to date. In China, people are also loading up on gold as a store of value amid economic uncertainties. Who would have known all these years later that the one-child policy would come back and turn a once thriving economy into a glorified retirement home? Because that is the big problem that China is quickly heading toward. But here it is. China's central bank gold buying had actually started to slow in April. They bought 60,000 troy ounces of the precious metal. That was down from 160,000 ounces in March and 390,000 in February. So in those 3 months, well over 500,000 ounces of gold. That's crazy. Man, I would love to have even a percentage of that, hey? But anyway, I had no idea China was buying up this much gold. And there is some talk amongst circles that say there's probably a reason China stopped buying, and it's not because they're going to actually stop buying. It was just so that the market could cool off and the price would drop back down, because I think they were pricing themselves out of the market and, I guess doing their due diligence, right? So yeah, anyway, so there is Dropping the Dime on precious metals for you guys. So here is yet another new segment name that we need this week. And so what I would like to do is maybe spread out the news stories a little bit. But just before I went live, I came across a tech segment, a tech story, basically outlining, if you guys saw just recently, Apple did their latest developers kind of conference where they showed what's coming out in the next, I think it's the iOS 18. Well, it's kind of funny because a couple of days ago, I was in a dead zone. I went to send a text message and I looked at my phone and there was a little satellite icon on the top. And I thought, well, that's strange. Now, A year or so ago, I did a story, a segment on Apple including low Earth orbit satellite functionality for emergencies only. So if you got lost, in the northern woods or something, you could use it. It could message out and save your life. And some people had. Well, I didn't know this, but apparently they're getting ready to roll it out to just about everybody and not just for emergencies. So anyway, I would love a name for a tech-related segment. Not something I'm going to do every week, but something I would love to do occasionally as the news cycle warrants, for sure. So a name for the tech segment. Anybody out there in the audio, if you are using Fountain, I've been getting quite a few boostergrams over there. You can always leave your suggestions over there too. So here it is. This is from cnet.com, one of my favorite sites for tech-related stuff. So it says, I saw messages via satellite in action, and it's iOS 18's most underrated feature. Garden Girl says, Tech with Tim. Damn, that's pretty good. I like that. So, satellite messaging. If your iPhone already supports satellite connectivity, iOS 18 adds satellite texting. So it's, like I said, it's been something they've had for a while, but now they're opening up to non-emergency use and absolutely everywhere. Again, there's preppers who say, I don't need roadside assistance. I don't need life insurance. And I'll be damned, I don't need to prep with my cell phone. Well, I got to tell you guys something. My cell phone has become more and more part of my prepping plan every single day. Now, does that mean that I'm going to count on it? No. But, it would be like a dude being out in the middle of the woods and dying from frostbite because he has a Bic lighter in his pocket, but he's too stubborn to use it, and he can't figure out how to rub two sticks together and create a fire. Why would I not use the tools that I have at my disposal? Now, could they fall apart tomorrow? Absolutely. Do I need to, could I have to switch to, a burner phone, de-Googled phone, and walk away from everything else? Well, I hope that never happens, but, it's always good to have plans for that. But here it is. I have recently incorporated, and, take it or leave it however you want, but I've started using the Apple Wallet on my phone, and I recently installed a device on my truck, that allows me to use my phone via an LTE or 4G connection to unlock my car, unlock my truck, or start it in the morning. I already had a remote starter installed, but this allows me to use my phone. A couple of the reasons for that kind of stuff is when I go to events, I would love to be able to leave, the majority of my money and wallet hidden safely inside my vehicle, along with my car keys. I would love to be able to leave those in there. Now, you say, well, Tim, what about? Yeah, well, I always have contingency plans, I promise. And I'm going to talk more about that in a segment in the future. But I digress. I went down a big rabbit hole because I love the idea of satellite messaging. Should you only count on your iPhone? No. But can you count on your iPhone as part of a PACE plan for comms, for finances, for whatever else? Yes, you absolutely can. So here we go. During Apple's Worldwide Developers Conference keynote, they talked about Apple Intelligence, if you haven't heard about that. A whole bunch of other things. And they basically glossed over satellite messaging. But here it is. Now, with iOS 18, Apple is taking the technology and expanding it so you can message anyone, even when it's not an emergency. So back a little while ago, Apple highlights some of the stories before its big shows. One feature behind one of the more dramatic rescues is emergency SOS via satellite, which iPhone 14 and 15 users have access to. So I was kind of excited. Apple's Senior Director of Platform Product Marketing walked me through a demo of messages via satellite at Apple Park. In a remote part of the company's campus, and I'm going to insert there, in an area with no cell service, on a warm, sunny day, Night sent messages, emojis, and even tapbacks. Don't know what a tapback is. If anybody knows, let me know. Using satellites orbiting in the sky hundreds of miles above us. It's just like using iMessage that you're used to. Super easy. Night said, we have a custom protocol so that this is end-to-end encrypted. I like that. Now, of course, does Apple have access to it? Yes, I think so. I'm sure they do. But they say it's end-to-end encrypted. Either way, don't send shit that you wouldn't want someone else to read, but it's a great way to send messages when you're off grid or out in the woods, the boonies somewhere. We have a custom protocol that's end-to-end encrypted. We had to do some extra work to make the data packets extra small because you need to be really efficient sending things up to space and back. And, you know, it goes on. It basically shows, like I said, a little satellite nugget there to show you. But he said the only tell that something was different at all was the time it took for messages to be sent. Most were almost instantaneous, but others took 15 to 20 seconds, and one took just over a minute. But what surprised me the most was that he was able to receive incoming iMessages and SMS text using satellite connectivity with some caveats. If you use iMessage over satellite connection, all messages will come in no matter who initiates the conversation. For SMS over satellite, you have to initiate the conversation by sending the first message, unless that person is an emergency contact or part of a family setup. I like that a lot. So, I mean, they have to, you know, I'm sure bandwidth is a concern. I'm sure cost is a concern. So you can set up emergency contacts or a family setup, and those messages will come through satellite no matter where you are. But if you initiate a conversation with somebody, then it's fair game. The messages come and go via satellite, at least for the intern. So something else to think about, that is satellite comms on a shoestring budget, literally free at this point. Now, nothing's free in this life. We know that. So either eventually it's going to cause, you know, they're going to bring in a cost to kind of upgrade to it, or again, they're going to sell the information to somebody else. I don't know. I hate to be that dude. But anyway, this was something that really tickled the old gray matter this evening. And I wanted to share it with you guys because this is something that definitely affects us as preppers. So back to my delinquents in the chat, and Garden Girl come up with 3. It says 3 names: Tech with Tim, Talk Tech to Me, and Tim Talks Tech. And then Digger says Tim Tech, the next generation. I kind of like all of those. I'm going to sit on those. Those are funny. Tim Tech, the next generation, and Tim Talks Tech. You guys, I love alliteration. I don't know why, but yeah, it is what it is. So there you go. Oh boy. All right. Back to single layout for a moment here. And we're going to talk about this week in the workshop. And I've had a busy, busy week. Busy enough that I had to postpone tomorrow's post-apocalyptic book club because I have yet another project. I need to remove 2 walls at the new daycare because we are quickly outgrowing that facility. And holy cow, Ryan Pippin said Toolman Tech. Boy, I think I like that one. That one's pretty damn good. We're going to just throw that one in here too. Toolman Tech. I like that quite a bit. All right. So this week in the workshop is, what do I do there? Why do I do it? 2 reasons. Inspiration and accountability. And you guys have heard that many times before, but it is true. If I don't talk about what I do, I might be, motivated to be, imagine being motivated to be lazy. But if I don't talk about it, I might not get shit done. And if I don't talk about it, somebody else might not get inspired or think, I could do that too. If that old lug from Canada can do something, well, I bet I could too. We're going to start with something I've wanted to do for a long time. I'm glad I didn't do it in my last vehicle because I ended up trading it in. But I finally installed an inverter in the old Ram, the old new Ram, the green one. And I'm really stoked about it. I have one more installation that's going to go along with it, but I took my time. I spent the evening last night going through the firewall in the front, and then I ran the wiring all under the carpet. I took all the trim off without breaking anything, ran the positive and negative all the way to the back driver's side seat. I hooked up I believe it's a 300 amp. I did all the calculations a while back, but it was a 300 amp breaker in the engine well. And at that point, I had a working 1500 watt pure sine wave inverter under the passenger or the driver's side rear seat. So that was great. I was quite stoked about that. But the final goal, well, basically until I come up with a new idea last night, was I also always wanted a 120, 110 volt, 15 amp plug in the box of my truck. Now, a lot of vehicles come with that now. Mine didn't. So I picked up all the supplies on Amazon and I took I took one of my rear signal lights out, and I drilled an 1 3/4 hole right through the box of my truck. And you might think, holy shit. Anyway, yeah, I did that. It's waterproof. And if you want to see a video of it, I put it in the Telegram group tonight. But I now have a completely working 110, 120 volt outlet in the box of my truck. So now I can charge while driving. Oh man, I have a whole bunch of different things I want to, but the main one is my big power stations. And the one I tested it tonight, the Anchor, draws at almost 1100 watts. No problem at all. And I decided, since I've done that there's a console between where Alice and Charlotte sit. It's a fold down armrest with cup holders. And behind it is a flat plastic plate, a perfect place to install 2 AC outlets, a USB-A and a USB-C outlet. And what I'm going to use, I found it on Amazon. You know, those desk grommets, the things that allow you to pass wires through. Well, this one is going to be it has the electrical end of it and then a tighten up nut on the back side. And I'm going to make that look perfect. So that'll give the girls outlets in the back as well. So that'll give me outlets between the 2 back seats, an outlet in the box of the truck, and an outlet underneath the seat where I could also plug things in while I drive. All 15 amp, 120 volt outlets. I'm stoked about it. It was a job. I'm really proud of myself for doing it, but that wasn't the only tech I installed in the truck this week. I actually picked up a new dash cam because the one I had that was given to me by my brother-in-law ended up shitting the bed. So I bought a Garmin, the little tiny one that is going to work absolutely perfect. And I got it set up. It takes voice commands. It's super tiny. It was tiny enough that I was able to install it on the far side of the main windshield on the passenger's side there. And so it works great. It has a 140 degree angle, wide angle lens. And all you have to say is, hey, Garmin, or something like that. And it'll take pictures, save some pictures, that sort of thing. So there was that. And then finally, I installed a little device like this that does GPS tracking. It's called Drone Mobile, and it goes down in the bottom of my window, and it tied into the remote start function of the truck. That was quite a bit of fun, finding where the wires went and patching that in. But the app setup was incredible. It's like $5 a month to have LTE access to your vehicle. So I'm pretty excited. It was definitely a good install and a great upgrade for it. And I need to apologize, but my dogs are being bad again tonight. You guys are never coming in here again, are you? So there they go. This is what happens when Becky's not home in the evening. The dogs go. No, it's not her fault. It's just when she gets home, they love to sit with her. And when she's not home, they wander and get into shit. So I know. There you go. So yeah, dash cam, drone mobile, inverter in the truck. We took a field trip to Montana. Just kidding. My wife and I and my in-laws, Barrett and Amy, we went down for 2 evenings to Montana. Here's the story. I went down to do a little shopping, check out my favorite silver shop. But the main idea was that Barrett's racing engine was supposed to be at the border on Monday. So we left Great Falls, heading to the border, expecting our parcel to be there around noon, because that's usually when they show up. We get to the border about 11 o'clock. It's an hour and a half drive from Great Falls to Sweetgrass. Hasn't shown up. We decide, you know what? We better call FedEx and see what's going on. Usually I have no luck. We ended up getting right through to the dispatch guy. And he's like, yeah, I know it says it's on the truck, but it didn't make the truck. And we're like, well, so what do we do? And Becky says, well, I guess we go back to Great Falls. So we added 3 extra hours to our drive that day. Instead of a 7-hour day, it was a 10-hour day. So an hour and a half down, picked it up off the ramp at FedEx, and an hour and a half back. And we made great time at the border. Didn't have to pay a whole lot of taxes, so that was helpful. There you go. I fixed a toilet here in the basement. The wax seal started going bad. You could hear it sucking air when it was flushing, so I replaced that. And I fixed a leak under our kitchen sink that we hadn't seen, but was making some kind of wacky smell under there. So again, always fix a loose screw, right? Oh boy. Walked around a nearly abandoned mall, took some pictures. I don't think I posted much in the Telegram group, but it was kind of neat. It was like going back into the 90s, but this mall had a food court that doesn't exist anymore. and I would say 60 to 70% of the storefronts are empty. I don't really know what's keeping that mall open, but yeah, if you're ever in Great Falls, it's pretty interesting to check out. We went to a grocery store there, and I ended up parking really close to an International Scout Model 2. And if you guys haven't seen one of those trucks, well, I don't know why that thing just stuck with me, but I loved it. I think I'd love to get an old beat up one to fix up, but it would make one of the best bug out vehicles. And the latest model, the one that came out in 1980, actually had a Nissan diesel engine in it. So I'm going to check that out for sure. And Garden Girl says tax shelter for the mall. Yes, you are right. And I also missed it there. I have to apologize, but they said their new truck has a 110 outlet in the box of the truck as well. And they're great. Yeah, I'm glad I have one now. So anyway, International Scout, if anybody's seen them in the wild, they're awesome. We ended up going to a GNC, and that's one of those like places that sell weightlifting supplements, because one of the girls that works for Becky up in Lloyd, she asked if we would find her some of these energy drinks, and apparently GNC sold them. So we went there. I'm not telling you that because of that, but I got talking to the guy because, that's what I do, talk to people. And we got talking about the caffeine content and things. And he's like, yeah, you haven't seen nothing. He says, you need to check out this pre-workout stuff called Woke AF. And you can probably figure out what AF stands for. That thing in one little scoop has 333 milligrams of caffeine, the same as 2 cans of Monster, the big cans. So that tells you something. I mean, that is heart palpitations and a heart attack waiting to happen. But the reason I bring that up is that would be an incredible way to stash or store away a ton of caffeine in a very condensed environment. So I've seen it. It looks really, I don't know, just getting close to it give me palpitations. Like I'm telling you, and this dude told me there's people that take 3 and 4 scoops of that before they work out. Your heart would be going 100 miles an hour. I couldn't even imagine, but I just wanted to mention it. So, and then finally, this week I did a video on the Costco Duracell Lantern. If you guys haven't seen it yet, it's been a really well-received video, but it's funny how little things that you buy for, in this case, was $40 Canadian, $30 American, end up being some of your favorite items. But I use that thing a ton in Tennessee. So check that review out if you get a chance. And next is a segment that kind of started last week, and I decided to keep it going a bit, called Food for Thought. And it's really just something that's been beaten around in my old noggin, and I wanted to share it with you. This one came out because this afternoon I was prepping for something else. Tomorrow is every second Friday. I have a managerial meeting with the 2 young people who are running our daycare in Lloydminster. They're great. I think the world of them. But their biggest problem is they're from Gen Z. Not really. But what that ends up causing me is I have a hell of a time relating to them because I'm just not getting where they're coming from in some ways. And so I promised to them that every 2 weeks we would have a sit down for an hour and do some management training. And so I've had to retrain my brain a little bit to kind of wrap around the mindset of the Gen Z. And it got me to thinking, well, you know what? That's something we're going to have to do as preppers as well, because, we're not going to be getting any younger. And eventually the younger generation is going to be taking over this world, whether we want them to or not. So it would sure be nice to be able to at least speak their language. So a few thoughts on it. And also shameless plug, not really, but if you guys ever check out the community page or the community tab on my YouTube channel, for quite a while I was posting polls and different things, and we're going to get back into that because YouTube is putting a huge push on it, and it's a great way to build organic growth. But I put a post on there where I want people to share their stories of interacting in the workplace with Gen Z. Now, I specifically said this is not going to be a shit on Gen Z thing. This is I need to learn from them. I need to interact with them. So let's figure out what makes them tick. So I thought this was kind of cool. Here we are. The things that you can do for Gen Z to work with them, or the things that bother them, that kind of stuff. But increase information sharing to alleviate fears of uncertainty. They are an anxious generation. And of course, these are all generalities, but the truth be told, whether we want them to or not, Gen Z is very open about sharing what they're making. And so you can't hide it. I was brought up to never talk about what my salary was, but whether we love it or hate it, they do. They all talk about it, and it's just as simple as that. We can't stop them from doing something that's within them. So the more information you can give Gen Z, the better they feel. They don't want pat answers. They want to be shown the path to career progression. Incentivize them. In other words, show them how they can do better. And a lot of that came out of COVID because a lot of them were just starting to work and they got laid off or lost their job. And so they want to be sure that where they're working is the right place. They need autonomy to keep them motivated. That's not a problem for me. I've always enjoyed managing through autonomy. So that's not a big struggle for me, but they prioritize wellness and mental health. That's a little bit harder. And it's not that I haven't had my own mental health and wellness struggles over the years, because God knows I have, but I grew up in an era where work didn't give a shit about that stuff. And so we look at Gen Z as weak and mentally fragile. And, there may be some truth to that, but I had a good conversation with another volleyball dad here a few weeks ago. And he said, sometimes I think maybe they got it right and we don't. He said he had rushed all week to get all his work done so that things didn't fall apart when he left. And he realized it really didn't matter. Family really matters, mental health and that kind of stuff. So there's a balance there, but it's definitely a thought. Gen Z embraces side hustles. And the reason for that is they feel loyalty is dead. Whatever you want to say on loyalty is dead. We had an employee walk away. She was one of our very first non-family employees, and she walked away this week with zero notice. It happens. I'm not going to judge her because I had my own struggles in the past where I did that as well. But the good side to that is Gen Z loves side hustles. So if you're looking to bring somebody into your side hustle or bring somebody into your entrepreneurial venture, it might be something to look at. I kind of like that. And here's the big one. And this is the one that I've struggled with because I wasn't brought up in this mindset. Two things. Gen Z expects feedback to be immediate, but with context, explanation, and discussion, not just criticism. I was used to two things where I worked. One, if I fucked up, somebody told me. Maybe right away, but I could always count on the yearly evaluation. So here's the thing. Gen Z comes from a mindset where their nerves and their anxieties get away from them. And if an unexpected meeting comes up, they think they did something wrong. Or if you tell them they did something wrong, that's how they take it. They take it wrong if you don't give them context and area to explain and discuss. Now, from our generation, that's tough. For them, that's what they want. And it's like, you would never go to another country and expect them to speak English. So I'm not going to go to Gen Z and say, hey, I'm a boomer. Listen to me. No, I'm not really a boomer, but listen to me because I'm older than you. And yes, some of that maybe could be true, but more than that, I need to respect them enough to learn their language. And so I wrap that whole segment around, it never hurts to get to understand the younger people. It's always that old man yelling at a cloud because the younger generation's going to hell in a handbasket. And yes, there are some things they do that I don't like, but it doesn't matter because at some point they're going to be running the world, the business, and looking after us in our retirement homes. I don't know. Anyway, but so hopefully figure out a way to be able to maybe not accept everything they stand for, but at least embrace who they are and bring them into the prepper fold, because that's the big thing. We all believe that being prepared is of utmost importance, but if we can't portray that, Marshall McLuhan always said the medium is the message. In other words, people aren't going to hear your message if you don't present it in a medium that they respect, understand, and are able to interpret. And so that's where I come down to this is if we want to share the gospel of preparedness, we probably got to speak the Gen Z lingo. That doesn't mean, Ohio and skippity toilet and having Riz or whatever my kids say today. Yep. I sound like an old man trying to sound cool, but anyway, there you go. That's it on Gen Z for tonight. Now what do we got left for you? Oh, we got one more here.
It's the apocalypse, end of days, the judgment day, the end of the world, my friend.
Let's dig into the community mailbag. All right, we're going to reach into the community mailbag and see what we pull out. But this week, and I did not put the person's name who sent me this morning via email. I'd really like to be able to share it with you, but here it is. This is a Kickstarter coming out from Olight, and we will bring this up so you can see it. So it is the O Station X. Now, this is an interesting item, and they sent to me, they said, hey, I know you really like rechargeable batteries. Maybe you should check this out. And I'm probably going to back this Kickstarter for no other reason than it would make a great review video to have access to this early on. So here's how it works. And if you haven't, if you're on the audio, I'll do my best to explain it. But this is kind of like a translucent brown plastic container, top and bottom. Now, how does it work? Well, you put dead batteries in the top, and they gravity feed kind of like a change sorter down into the charging bay. And then they come out one at a time at the bottom. So it's a charger, an organizer, and check this out. This right here, it has smart built into it. So there's a little drawer in the front. So if you put the wrong size in there, now the downside to this is it's only for AA batteries. They're also doing a AAA model as well. But if you put non-rechargeables or you put the wrong size, it'll separate them for you. But I guess what I really like about this is it's an automatic charger. It takes some of the guesswork out of it. Now, of course, in true 21st century fashion, Olight tries to greenwash the hell out of this product. I just don't think there's anything green about a battery charger made out of plastic. Now, somebody's going to fight with me and say, yeah, but it's recharging and it's, yeah, I get it. I just quit it with the bullshit of the green, whatever. I just like it. I like it because it recharges my batteries. I like it because it stores them. I like it because it charges things on a, automatically. I don't have to plug them in there, and it just works their way through. It's an intelligent charger. Anyway, just thought I'd share that with you guys because it was something sent to me from a fellow delinquent, and I thought you guys would like to see that. So next, here we are. All right, what did I get? This one here, I got 3 boostergrams this week that I wanted to share from over on Fountain. And first is from the Bitcoin Viking. And he said, hey, great show. Now I have to do a bunch of mesh network research. And if you didn't catch that episode, that was with my good buddy Jake from Ravenwood Acres. And he did an incredible episode on next generation emergency comms. So thanks, Bitcoin Viking. I appreciate it. Next comes from Jim Seifert, one of my biggest supporters over on Fountain. And he said, calling bullshit. Everyone knows that replacing lights with stop signs saves the municipality money in the long run. It's bullshit that the homeless is the reason. Politicizing this with these claims is typical media manipulation of facts, ... Again, he's not wrong. And that spurs from last week's This Week in Prepping, where we talked about Oakland replacing traffic lights with stop signs because they said the homeless people were stealing the copper. And Jim, I don't disagree with you one bit. And finally, this one comes from Bitcoin Plus Food. And they said, hey, keep up the great work. He said, I had to smile when you mentioned you guys are hoarders. Yeah, a little bit tongue in cheek. We try not to embrace that moniker too much, but it is one of those things that seems to come a bit part and parcel with preppers. But anyhow, he said, you do seem to accumulate massive amounts of stuff. But he said, check out Guy McPherson. He saw the end of days coming years ago, but gave up on the pressure of 5 years of supply in reverse. Sorry, he gave up on the digging in approach. If you did survive an apocalypse, it would be so dire you might not want the pressure of 5 years of supplies in reserve. Oh boy, let's try that over again. His catastrophe predictions are also a little catastrophic, even though in broad strokes, he is probably on the button. So I don't know that dude. I haven't looked him up yet. Kind of an interesting, I guess he's a minimalist apocalyptic person. I don't know. Just a thought, I guess the reason I shared that was it becomes really easy to just buy all the stuff. And, I know as a YouTuber who reviews shit all the time and gets sent shit all the time and also buy shit all the time, I certainly can drown myself in stuff at times. So just a good reminder for myself. And that came out of episode 452. So that was This Week in Prepping last week as well. And finally, a segment that I haven't done in a while, and that is the Creator Spotlight. And so usually when I will do this one is when I come across a new YouTuber or a new content creator somewhere that offers value to the workshop community and the prepper community in general. And so this is the power of the world we live in and YouTube in general. But you guys might or might not have seen my video of BattleBox. So I opened my BattleBox last week sometime, and I got a really cool flashlight in there, a tactical fighting flashlight with quotation marks around it. Really enjoying it so far. And I decided to see some reviews on it. And the dude that I ran into was this guy named Icy Mike, Hard to Hurt YouTube channel. And that's Hard, H-A-R-D, the number 2, and Hurt, H-U-R-T. He's got just over 500,000 subscribers. And I watched the video, and he was one of those dudes I just clicked with right away. He kind of reminded me, I guess maybe a bit of John Willis in a sense, but the dude is former police, MMA fighter, and now trains other MMA fighters. And the dude does some reaction videos to shootings and fights, but mostly he does self-defense kind of stuff. And he prefaces it in the way that if you don't train, you're not going to do it. And it's great. The guy's hilarious, but he's to the point. His videos are, in the 8 to 15 minute range. So yeah, check it out. Like, let's see, we'll bring up couple of videos I've watched recently of his. I've actually watched quite a bit, but the most popular ones are the best self-defense weapon ever, choosing the best home defense weapon, hidden weapons in non-permissive environments. That one reminded me of going to the Oilers game. The best self-defense technique for parking lots in public places. And it's not what you think it is. He literally opens with that, and he's right. And the idea was, pat yourself down, pretend you forgot something, and turn around and walk back. In other words, if you think something's wrong, something probably is wrong. So his link to his channel, not that he needs my support, is in the show notes this evening. But yeah, so that, folks, is what I brought for you this week. I thought I would take a lot longer to get through all that. So I hope the show isn't too overwhelming. I throw a lot at you. You can always go back and re-listen to it. You can check the links out in the description. One more thing to throw out at you. I'm actually pretty excited about this, but Curio Bullion, the guy who does the custom workshop rounds for us, sent me an image 2 nights ago on Telegram. He has all of the blanks measured out and poured. And just yesterday, the press showed up, or the die, whatever you want to call it, for pressing the logo, the design into the steel, oh my goodness, into the silver rounds just showed up. So shouldn't be too much longer, fingers crossed, and they will be shipping. So I'm looking at, there's going to be a special patch for everybody. I'm looking at, the price. Obviously, if you missed out on the early bird pricing, you missed out, but I'm going to try to find a way to incentivize folks to pick one up when they show up as well. So anyway, pretty excited about that. I'm going to be spending the next the next 2 days in Lloyd working on the daycare, doing the management training, installing some locks for Becky, and then all day Saturday finishing up the pass-through archways that I'm going to cut up. And yeah, so we will see. Let me see. We got Sunday evening. I've got a great guest coming up, and she is a lady who does, well, let's say she is big into home births and being able to do, being able to look after babies being born whenever needed to be. Pretty excited. She ended up getting sent over to me. Her name's Jessica. She goes by the Combat Midwife, and she was sent to me again through a fellow delinquent, Spags. He said, hey, you really need to chat with this lady. And I'm stoked to talk to her because it's a different topic that we've never dealt with on here. So tune in Sunday evening, 6 p.m. I'm excited. And other than that, guys, man, it's the weekend. Well, not quite. It's Friday Eve, as Ryan Pippin always loves to say. So get out, get shit done, knock 1,000 things off your to-do list, make tomorrow slightly better than it was today, and get the hell out there and build your empire. And as always, stay happy, stay healthy, and have a great week.